Do you want to make this cottage English garden wreath with me? Let's do it. On this wreath base, we're going to use these beautiful daisy pick. They're kind of a spray because they're larger. They have 3 pieces on here that you can easily take apart. It has a nice leaf in here as well as like a filler flower, and it has the main flower. So the combination of all that together really works. And this is going to be our brighter color pink, and we're going to use a couple of those in there. Now, this is something so fun. This is a new green berry we just got in, and it has a killer leaf. It's going to work like a greenery too because it's green, but also a filler flower. So that's going to pull out this beautiful green color that's in our main ribbon we're using. And you can see how pretty that combo is together. But together, we're going to mix these two, and that's going to pull out the pretty green and, of course, the pink. And in order to soften the pink and give it that cottage vibe that we're going for, then we're going to come in at the end with these mini roses. These are called boho roses. And they have like a little baby's breath in there too, which is a lot of fun to go together. So these will be our main pieces we're using for this wreath and our 2 ribbons. So we're going to get started in creating our base. Of course, you'd want to put your hanger on first, and we can insert the hanger video right here so you know how to put on the hanger, and you can put your own hanger on right on the top of your wreath, okay? And after your hanger's on, we're going to start off with these, and these are going to tear apart into sections. Now, when you get your supplies, no matter where you get them from, you always have to manipulate them because everything comes, you know, compact for shipping, and you've got to open it up. We call that shaking hands in design school, where we teach hundreds of students every week how to take and make floral designs on their own and learn the techniques so they can make beautiful pieces at designer level. So we've already done that with these. We've shaken hands with them. We've said, hello, nice to meet you. And then we're able to take and trim and clean these up. So with the last piece, I always like to cut it a little bit longer, and keep these 2 pieces shorter. Now, once you tear them off, you do have to clean up the little nasty edges because you will just be fighting going in. You will notice I do not use a pick machine. You will never see me use one. That's because I've been doing this 26 years, and a pick machine is good to use when you have really cheap florals that you need to have a good stem. And it's quick. But pick machines jam all the time. They also are very sharp and dangerous. And then you really don't want to use picks and wreaths anyway. So if you learn how to buy better supplies that have stronger bases and foundation, you can eliminate pick machines from your whole business, and then you have extra money to spend on other floral supplies because they're expensive. And the maintenance of them never stops. So instead of getting frustrated with that, just learn from Keleas right now how to omit that and never have to use that. Now when you're trimming down these, make sure you keep these nice wires, guys. These are perfect for hangers, okay? So you can save these. You'll have to kind of either retape this with floral tape if you need a longer piece or trim it off. But these are great wires for excellent hangers. And then if you do craft shows and you want to sell your wreaths there, make sure you put hangers on your wreaths, especially if you want to sell on Etsy, because customers need to know how to hang these things up when they arrive, because that box is going to come upside down, and you are going to die the first time they put a review up of your wreath and they say, we love it, 5 stars, and it's upside down. You are going to, you know, I know this because it's happened to me. So I've learned, just go ahead and get that sign on, hanger on there so they know. Get the hanger on that wreath. Okay, we're going to start off with our shaping this out. The first thing you got to do on your design is decide where you want that bow. And for me, I'm going to put that bow low and to the left. That's my go-to position for my signature C-shape wreath that I make. And that's one of my best sellers, so you're going to see me make this all the time. So we're going to start putting these in. Now the other thing I don't have on my table yet I need to grab is my Spanish moss. So I'm going to use Spanish moss. This is our chartreuse color Spanish moss, be on Keleas.com. I use this to cover glue. So you never want to see your glue or your mechanics. So that's going to be a little bit out of camera, but I want you to know you're going to see me bringing it over in a second. So let's start to shape this up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over, load this with glue, come up high, and press that in. Oh, maybe press it in. Into the wreath, just like this, and start shaping up my design. I got to come over just a little bit here, a little bit more room. on that glue, you're going to go ahead and take and cover that right away. You just use the glue like a little sandwich between the wreath and the moss, and it helps create a stronger foundation for everything to go in. So we're going to start to shape this out. Every time you go in that glue pot, you want to hold out like a pencil, swirl it in, and start shaping out your base. Now in design school, we teach a lot about the principles of threes and shapes and lines. So you're going to see me doing some of that here today and bringing this together. But that way, when you learn the principles when you're in our class, you can use those for every season. You can start to develop your own designs using the principles that you learn. Like right now, we're rocking out patriotic. We have done Mother's Day. Of course, we did Easter earlier in the year. And we're always working ahead. So like we will be starting fall coming up in June and Halloween. So it's a great time to join our class so you don't miss any of the seasons. We have a portal set up at KeleasDesignSchool.com, and you guys can always go over there and check it out, take a look and see what it's about to sign up for our class. So I've got the top done. Now I'm working on the bottom. We're going to start putting these in. Don't forget, I've got to work on my shape. I've got to think about how I'm putting these in at each section and spacing them out. I'm going to work a little backwards right to where I'm going to put the bow. We call the bow the transition point area. Generally, sometimes we don't have bows in our pieces, and I'm a fan of that too. I like both. And some of the younger generation is no bows, and the West Coast isn't so in love with ribbon, but the East Coast still likes it. So it just depends on what's trending there, and those things can change quickly, of course, really quickly. So I'm going to put my final piece right down here. So I've kind of got a great shape starting. And basically I'm mirroring what I'm doing on the top and what I'm doing on the bottom. So I've got it shaped out. I'm going to push that in good, yes. And make sure these leaves are facing forward. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is leaves backwards. I hate when greenery won't stay forward. So I try to carry pieces that allow the leaves to be manipulative because they're wired. So that's the kind of products you're going to find on Keleas.com. All right, let me pull these off to the side, and we'll have our bow in just a minute, but I'm going to pull this off. So we're leaving that little section intentionally open because that's where the bow is going to be going eventually. Let me scoot our glue pot over and let's get a little bit more room here. Okay, now we're going to use these boho roses as our final filler pieces. So these will fill in at the end. So this is going to work as what we call a filler flower also, but a greenery because it's in the green family. But it's so cool that it has a berry on it. Now these are long and wispy, which you can do, and you can keep this very romantic and long and wispy, which will go great with the cottage theme. So in order to do that, I'm just going to cut off a few branches here. And you may not want to use all of these, it just depends. I'm a big twig girl, so I like a lot of dramatic twigs coming out, adding dimension. You may have heard me say before, dimension means more money in your pocket when you're selling pieces. Because you don't want to compete with the local big box store on wreath making. You want to be the next level. Because in theory, if you can have a better quality piece you make, you'll be able to charge more. And eventually you don't have to sell as many wreaths if they're priced right. You can make each piece, you know, a work of art. So let's start in with some of these longer pieces and shoot them right through the main sections of the wreath. So here's what we got so far, looking good. And I'm going to go right between there. That may be a little long, so if you feel like it's a little long, just take one little section off. Save that. We can use this in a minute. You can use all these pieces. You don't have to think you have to throw it away or something. No, we can save it. So I'm going to go right between. Very nice. Now I'm going to go up above to the top with this smaller piece. Now if you can't see the glue when you go in, you don't have to moss it. You're good. You can just let it go in. But if you can see the glue, you've got to cover it with moss. That's one of the things we don't want our mechanics showing ever. That's the detail part I was talking about earlier. You've got to pay attention to these details. So I'm going in my electric skillet. That's my glue pot that allows me not to pull triggers on glue guns. I don't pull triggers. I learned that lesson when I was younger. If you're going to sell thousands of wreaths, you cannot do thousands of trigger pulls. You just can't keep pulling and pulling that trigger, or you're going to end up having problems later. So you've got to make sure you use something like this electric skill. It's so simple. So simple. And we have our favorite wreath making supplies link for you too on the blog. So if you need that link, let us know in the comments. We'll get back to you. And you can know exactly which one we use. Now, and when I'm doing high production and we are making wreaths to sell on Etsy, then we are using a larger skillet than this because I like to be able to put big things in there. Okay, I want you to see the difference. See the top? See the dramatic pieces we added? That's adding the really, the elegance. And you've got the dimension. And you see that movement? The movement is what catches people's eyes. So when that's on someone's door and the wind blows, it looks real because it's moving. So keep that in mind as you start to create your pieces. How can I add depth and dimension and movement? All of that is key to being able to have a piece that is a little bit higher level design. Okay, let's start with our longer piece kind of coming out right out of the middle, just like we did on the top. And we're going to come right through here. Beautiful. This one I'm going to run a little bit more in the background. I don't want these all in the background, like I want a few in the foreground, but I'm kind of working them around. And this one will be on the left. How cute are these? I'll put that one in there. Great. And then I need one more behind. And then what I'm going to do is I've got my little pieces we had a little while ago, and I'm going to save this one big piece. And we can kind of cut it down and use it to fill in spaces kind of more towards the front once we get our ribbon in. Okay, let's go behind the bow. And we'll bring that over here. Beautiful. And try to manipulate it where the leaves are forward if possible so you can see them. You can just rotate them around. Really pretty. Now, I've got a few pieces of the berries left. You want to hold on to those. That's something I teach, that we need to have pieces from the background work their way to the front. It's very important to not just cover things up, okay? So we've got a great shape started off. Look how pretty. Isn't this gorgeous? Look at this. This is so pretty. That's the top. There's the bottom. Excellent shape. And let's get our bow in next, and then we'll be working around that bow. So we're cable tying this on right in that section that we left open. We call that the bow zone. I'm going to pull that tight to the base in this case. And once it's on there, you can manipulate it around and shape. Oh my gosh, look how soft that's just so beautiful. That adds this lovely softness. Now I want to shape it up where it's going to flow down. And these tails are going to work in this little hole right here. Rotate that to the center a little bit. There we go. Now, make sure you have to be the boss of your tails. Like, you can't just put it in and be like, I'm good. No, that won't work. You have to get in here. You got to curl them up and then use those gorgeous wires. Oh my gosh, that's so cute in there. I love how this ribbon does that. It does that little ringlet. Yeah, you're so cute. All right, let's go down with those. Beautiful, beautiful. And so now what we're going to do, you want to grab those boho roses, and we're going to soften all of this, and we're going to work a little more to the center. So this bush is already sectioned out into 3 sections for you. So just go ahead and take them out like this and leave about an 1 to 2 inch stem. And we can break them down more from here. So let's start in with one right above the bow. That's like an important space. We can really pop this pink. So I'm just getting, when you see me spinning, I'm getting rid of that glue string. I hate glue strings, but you can control it by spinning your glue on itself. Oh my gosh, see how that picks up, this baby's breath picks up the brown in the bow. Boom, that's pretty. Beautiful. So we're gonna use 2 pieces above the bow. This bush is killer because it is like, it fills in the holes in your piece like magic. And because they're all on one stem, it's really beautiful. See how pretty that rolled in? And you can take and manipulate these forward because they are nicely wired. Now my last piece is going to go below the bow, So below the transition, right in the middle, I'm going to tuck that right tight to the bow. So make sure you pull those cool baby's breath forward, because that's what's tying in that brown color. So when you're in design school, one of the nice things is I have supplies and projects planned out way months ahead of time, years ahead of time actually. So that way everything coordinates together, and we try to teach trending styles and designs. That way your pieces will be able to sell for you if you're a seller. And we've got lots of people in the class though who do not sell, they just love creating. So don't feel like the pressure you have to be a seller to be in our class. It's fine if you aren't as well, because some people just want to make their house beautiful and they've always wanted to learn these tips and tricks. So now we're going to take these berries that we have left and we're going to cut them down into cute little sections. So when I'm making cuts, I'm looking at the cut here. So that way I get a berry and a couple leaves and on a short stem. Okay, so you can't just go in there and start chopping or you're going to waste cuts. See, I'm cutting there, so that can be a berry and this can be its own little cute stem. So pay attention when you're doing your cuts and you're going in. So now we're going to use this like a little filler. It's going to go in any holes that we missed as we're going around. Or if there's spacing issues, like there's a little bit of a gap between one thing to another, this is where you're going to fill in with these. Okay, so I'm going to take the ones that are a little choppy that we cut up that aren't quite as cute. We've got one that's really cute because it's got the little leaves and the twig. So you save that for the end, and you save this little berry one for the end. But you work these in and around the bow. She turned out this beautiful. Design, she's not so hard. It's a great beginner design, really. I'm going to go off to the side so that can pop out the side of that bow and fluff out this bow. Now I'm going to take this really cute one, cut this a little shorter, and we're going to go right into the middle of the bow. That's one of those detail zones you want to really think about when you're creating. Go right into the middle. Boom. I love you right there. You're beautiful. And then flip that leaf around. And then we got to get a little of this. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Now let's go down here to the bottom. I'm going to add a couple right here at the edge. Oh, this is so great. And when we do design school, I make sure that the wreaths, I generally make them standing on a wreath making board, and you get close-up view so you can get the great angles and seeing exactly how to create it. We made some great choices here with our ribbons and our florals, and putting this little bit of olive greenery in there that came on that boho bush gave us a little brown tones that picked up this ribbon, and the whole combo together is stunning, 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 stunning. So I hope you enjoyed making this with me. I can't wait to see you make your own, and I will see you next time, Bloomerinos. Bye, everybody.